It is the news segment, January 13th, 2023. My name is Ken. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. Great interview with Fran over at Schlafly. Schlafly? I think I fucked up. I fucked up the first time after. Schlafly. I hit 100% hit rate while she was here, so that's what mattered. Let's go around and see what everybody is drinking. I am finishing after the Kolsch. I got an Outer Belt Brewing Camino Amberino, which is a Mexican amber. I also have another Kolsch that I'm going to drink, and then something I'm going to talk about during the news segment, but from Zaftig Brewing Company, a beer called Nuts for You, which is a peanut butter stout. Going around, seeing what everybody else is drinking, starting with Daniel. Daniel, what do you got?
Still going hard on my sparkling water over here.
Are you drinking Liquid Death?
He is.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, you weren't here. Yeah, I'm doing dry January till the 26th, so
okay.
Easy enough.
Fair enough. Have
Have
you tried the lime one yet? Out of curiosity.
No, I hate flavored sparkling water.
The lime one, give it a try. I would just give it a shot. Yeah, I think it's good.
Rob, you're going NA over there. What are you drinking?
Oh yeah, I was actually pretty much throughout the day at work just having nothing but hop teas. So definitely a lot of carbonation or caffeination that was going on there. But I'm still on the Shorts Thirst Mutilator, the sparkling hop water with lemon lime flavor. It's like it's a quencher for sure, but it's like I don't know. It's like a extremely poor man's 7-Up. Like if fruit, like basically when fruit drinks would come in the barrels that you would buy at the grocery store for like 10 cents to drink. This is basically what it kind of tastes like, which, for me is exceptional.
It's a really aggressive name for a.
I mean, complete with like the art on here just almost makes me feel like this could be like a cover for an album from like Cannibal Corpse or something like that.
What about you, Dani? What are you drinking?
I have water because I'm going to a workout class in the morning, and I want to make sure I get up.
What about you, Nicholas?
Well, my exploded beer that I only had half the can of was my Controversy Ale from Shorts. I finished whatever was left of that. I'm on the Shorts kick still, going with the s'more stout. I am not doing dry January, obviously.
Before we get into the news segment, I've got a question for you guys, because I'm staring at this can, and as much as when we look at cans, we look for a specific thing, like what kind of beer is it, what the ABV is. And if you actually look at the Zatfig can, I have to hold it up to an actual light source to figure out what the ABV is. The ABV is so light printed on this can. Everything is light printed except for the name of the beer. When you're going out to a bar or a beer store or anything like that, what is the something that you need to see on the can? Do you need to see where the beer is brewed? Do you need to see the ABV? Do you need to see, obviously the style and the name and the brewery, but do you care about the location? Do you care about the ABV? What are some of the things that you just, on top of the main things of beer, style, name, you want to see? Dan?
I actually look for the adjuncts in it, because the last thing I want is like a stout that has like ball sweat and whatever else added to it too.
Well, I think more people care about the adjuncts for, maybe allergies.
No, I care because I prefer beers actually with if I can get beers with no adjuncts, actually none. But since that's damn near an impossibility with most breweries these days, that's actually what I look for.
I feel like at that point
caught
you're just better off
that just caught me. Caught me so off guard. I was not ready. I was not ready.
What, you're not used to hearing ball sweat on the Better on Draft podcast after 310 episodes?
I mean, when he's talking about...
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, he's so used to talking about adjuncts when he's talking about, candy pecan swirled candied bacon with pepper and caramel toasted asparagus. I mean, I'm not expecting ball sweat.
I think it's just how it was just came out of nowhere from left field and the context of it. I think that's what got me.
I do kind of want to try caramel toasted asparagus, though. That's really that's going to be stuck in my head. Nick, what about you? Like, what's something that you need to see on a can when you're shopping?
I'd rather see the ABV, even whether it's shopping or going through my beer fridge downstairs. I gotta see the ABV. I want to know what I'm gonna get myself into. Is it gonna be one of those things that I'm gonna be drinking one or two of and I'm done for the night, or can I have a few of them? And I think that's not only just on the can itself. I think that applies to go into a brewery. Yeah, there you go. I can't see it because it's video and it's computers.
For you.
Nuts for you.
That's not the computer. That's how light the
text
the
is?
beer text is, because that's
wow.
the camera on my webcam even shining
Weird.
a light on it, and you can barely see it. For those of you
crazy.
not watching, of course, you can watch all of our videos, youtube.com/BetterOnDraft. We post them as we post the podcast, so you can see it live. It's basically the exact same thing as the podcast, except you can stare at my receding hairline I've had since I was 18.
Or 10.
Dani, what about you? What is a necessity on the can or bottle of beer?
I have to see the date that it was put in the vessel. I have to know when it was canned or bottled. That will absolutely determine whether or not I'm going to buy it. If it's more than a few months old, I'm not buying it. Like 2 or 3 months.
Is that for only IPAs, or is that for all beers?
All beers.
What if I had like a Bourbon County 2020 on the shelf for $4?
I wasn't going to drink that anyway. But even a good lager, everything dies. I don't want it.
What if it was a
pretty dark turn?
A Stone Enjoy After, where it's 6 months old, but it's still enjoy after a certain date.
Those ones are weird. I haven't had anything like that in a really long time. So I guess if that's what they want, I'd have to, honor their wishes. The brewer knows better than me. But personally, I'm not going to buy it. Like if I see that this can was canned in March and now it's September, what's it doing here?
So I feel like I need to bring, because I do have some of the 6-year-old 4-Elfs and 7-year-old Lafindamons that I found on the shelf at a local store to bring over. Maybe you might like some of these older beers. What about you, Rob?
Pretty much kind of like in the area, Nick, where I'm looking at the ABV for most of actually all of you on this show, and those on listening included, that I do have a cold storage room in my basement, which, long story short, acted as our refrigerator for the first 3 months while we were in this house shopping for refrigerators, because the room during the winter stays at a relatively consistent 37, 38 degrees. But it is locked, which is perfect right now because, I have 3 teenage daughters and I don't need exploration happening in my cold storage room. So I like to know the ABV because, it is like what Nick said. I like to know if this is just going to be a one and done, or am I going to be able to have, 2, and maybe there's something else that may be a lower ABV that's in there that I can take with me, because I'm going to lock the door behind me and I don't feel like going back downstairs to go back there and get, another beer if I'm just grabbing one. So I'm typically focusing on that ABV and, knowing where my tolerances are, that's what I'm going to grab. And, X is the number of how many I grab based on that ABV.
Well, we'll roll right into the news. I want to bring up the news segment that I had from last week that we weren't able to get to just because we reached time. And this is a Brewbound article with the information from Untapped about the prices. So if those of you who don't know, obviously Untapped is used for a rating system, a check-in system for craft beer, but they also have a digital menu company. So they, if you've ever gone to a bar or a brewery, that shows a digital menu of all the beers and all the people who have checked in. So they have the statistics that can tell you things like what beer prices have gone up or gone down throughout the year. And one of the big things is that the prices for craft beer and all beer for that matter have been increasing. They actually increased both draft and bottle prices by 3% over the last year, and expect to probably increase a little bit more for the next year. But the aluminum can prices are beginning to come down, which of course has been a huge issue that we've talked about within this last year and a half of the aluminum shortage. My question to ask you guys is, for those of you who have been going out, those of you who have been to bars and breweries, so not drinking at home, but to bars and breweries, have you noticed a increase in your beer prices? Is that something that you actually notice or don't notice? And what do you think will be the future of beer prices, in the coming year or so as we continue to move with a lot of inflation, stagnation, and cost of items just continuously going up? I am going to start with the guy who always seems to have a counter argument to me, Dan.
Yeah, well, if you haven't been paying attention, inflation's actually going down pretty significantly, especially if you take the CPI over the last, going back to the mid of last year.
And for those of you who don't know, CPI means?
Consumer Price Index.
Thank you. Continue.
Yeah, so anyways, but the thing is, you never see prices go down. So where we're at now, they're at least always going to be there. But you're going to see them continue to go up because, number one, no one ever lowers prices, even if their costs go down, at least in any industry I've ever seen. So I've totally expected to probably continue to rise because there are still, a lot of higher cost of living, cost of service, cost of business, everything out there. So I think you're going to continue to see it go up.
What do you think, Nick? I mean, you get out there around town. You obviously have dinner with the fam. What are you seeing when you're going out there?
Well, besides that the prices are going up, and I probably see this more in the grocery store more than anything, especially when you're got a 2-year-old that can't make up his mind what he wants to eat any given day, but that's okay. I'm going to agree with Dan. Obviously, we see prices going up in everything. Dan makes the excellent point that even if costs of goods to make said product continue to go down, I think the prices of the end product will continue to go up. I think we're still going to see ebb and flow. I think they'll come down a little bit. But I think the days of your normal $3.50 pint at a local bar, of your Budweiser or Coors Light or whatever, I think those days are over. I think it's going to be more along the line, I don't know, maybe $3.75, maybe $4. It's not going to be a big jump, but it's going to be enough for people to notice. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing, at least in the places that I go to with my family. I mean, we've been going to Brown Iron Brew House a lot more frequently over the last few months. And starting to see their prices kind of jump up a little bit. But I think it's just going to we're the days of the $3.50 pint have probably gone. It's going to be $3.75, $4. I think that's what we're going to see if we're not seeing it already.
I want to ask Dani in just a moment, because obviously Dani runs the local Metro Detroit Girls Pint Out chapter, which she is the president, I believe. And therefore, if you are a woman within the craft beer fandom, definitely look for your local Girls Pint Out organization. Join them. Just literally show up. You don't have to sign an application or anything like that. And this is open to everyone. I even showed up to one with Julia over at Brew Detroit. Nope, not even Brew Detroit. Batch Brewing. Got it. Third time's a charm. So go check them out. But Nick, I have to disagree, and I will say one thing, and this is going to be more for the industry people, and I think those low-cost beers, Coors, Miller, Bud, are going to stay low and turn into more effective loss leaders for restaurants. For those of you who don't know what a loss leader is within the restaurant industry, if you've ever gone to a restaurant that has something like $1 hot dog night or 50-cent hot dog night or 10-cent wing night, the whole point is to get you in there, and they're going to make money off of you in a different way. They're going to make it off of you based on the drinks that you're drinking or the other food or the other people that you're bringing. So it is a loss every time they sell it, and it's a loss leader, but it's going to make the money in the long run from either return service, return customer, or the other product. So I think your $3 Budweisers are going to stay $3, but I think you're going to see the other items, the hot dogs, the chicken wings, whatever, increase a little bit more. But Dani, you're the one that's going to. I'll come back to you, Nick, after Dani. But Dani, you're the one that goes to a lot of these bars and breweries for your GPO events. What are you seeing?
To be honest, I haven't really noticed price increases, but I go out with my husband a lot and he pays. So I don't ever blame like a brewery for having higher prices. Things are tough. Ingredients are hard to come by. They're getting more expensive. I can definitely see like the macro beers staying around like the same cost though, for exactly that reason. Like they'll become more appealing. I mean, you have to make up your costs in some way. So I haven't noticed a huge difference in pricing lately, but it seems like I will once I start really paying attention, like at Urban Rest and Ferndale Project. Actually, yeah, I have noticed a little bit of pricing increases where I am. Yes,
well,
definitely.
Ferndale Project has always been a little bit pricier than the rest of the world because they're basically a sour house over there. And sours are always a little bit heavier on the prices. If you ever, go to a Jolly Pumpkin and you compare like the Jolly Pumpkin prices to, what's their Blue Tractor, North Peak or Grizzly Peak or whatever. So if you compare those two prices, obviously you're going to see completely different things. But that makes sense. Nick, what did you want to say?
Just two quick things, and then I'll turn it over. To quote my favorite movie, Goodfellas, Paulie, the big mob boss dude, I don't know anything about the restaurant business. All I know how to do is order off the menu. So I don't know about loss leaders or anything like that, which it's a compelling point. But again, I don't know anything about the restaurant business other than ordering, eating, drinking. The second thing I do want to say is I bowl on Monday nights in a league, and before the league starts, we always talk to the league, like the house manager, about changes. And one of the very first things they always talk about is prices for not only bowling, but also for food and beer. And that's like one of the very first things that they talk about is the rise in beer prices. Now, again, most of the people that I bowl with are drinking Bud Light, Budweiser, Labatt's, not drinking. Some of them will drink milkshake stout, which I think is crazy, especially when you're trying to bowl a 300, but I digress. But that's what I see on, in my, again, multiple different viewpoints. I'm sure I'm sure it's going to come down. I'm sure all the common stuff will probably stay. I mean, I don't know. I could see it going either way, I guess.
Here's what I'll give you two quick examples before we pass it off to Dan for his article. One, if you guys recall the old days of Luna, when you would go for $2 call-its or free drink night. When those happen, their goal is while they weren't a food service, their goal was to keep you in there because you've already gone there for their, and as much as you're spending your 4 screwdrivers on your free drink night cost them maybe $1.50 to make in a combined total, they are going to make their money on the 5th, 6th, and 7th screwdriver you have after the fact. So they got you in the door, you tipped their staff, and now you're ordering drinks. So yes, they're losing money on those first 4 drinks, but they're going to make money later somehow. It's the same how we used to go to Augie's and we would do $3 Boombas of Guinness on Thursday night. Yes, they're not really making that much money off of that, but where are they making their money? They're making money off of the baskets of fries we're ordering and the other, bread, pizza, burgers, chicken tenders, etc. All the things that we're ordering, because not only are we there for $3 Thursday, we're there for 6 hours. And we're drinking.
Those were the days.
And we're eating, and so that's what a loss leader does. The loss leader gets you in the door. It's a selling point. It's not a money making point because you make the money elsewhere. But
Man, we spent like all night there on Thursday night.
That's your insight to the restaurant industry from me. Dan, what's your article about?
All right. So Morrison Coors.
Morrison Coors?
Morrison Coors. Yeah.
Coors.
All right, we're cutting you off. No more liquid death.
Yeah, I gotta cut back here. I don't know what's going on, but anyways,
it's that carbonation going to your head.
Yeah, definitely. They have released their first non-alcoholic craft cocktail that they're selling exclusively online. This canned beverage represents what they call a convergence of 2 spaces, being the low alcohol and no alcohol ready to drink cocktails. It's also the first time Morrison, here we go. See, you guys have screwed me up now. Molson Coors has sold exclusively online. Something interesting I saw about this segment is this is only 1% of the beverage industry currently, but it actually grew by 15% in 2022. And it's also expected to grow by almost 28% among 21 to 25-year-olds. We've talked about it a million times. Craft beer, the 10% beers that I like to drink are going out of style, apparently. Is this going to be the new trend? I always thought this was going to be, kind of a fad, like, non-alcoholic beer. Who cares? It's good for January if you're not drinking for a month. But now we're seeing a 28% growth between 21 and 25-year-olds. Are these Gen Zers? Is this the new trend going towards everything that's just non-alcoholic? Ken, let's start with you.
All right. Hold on. Let me do my best Dan impression. Awesome.
So, you say that all the time, actually. I almost called you out during the last show.
Oh, every time I say it, it's better than all the times I used to say in regards to. I do not say that anymore.
Bingo square.
I've just replaced it with something else.
You just said it.
Ironically, not accidentally.
It doesn't matter anyway.
For Molson Coors launching their
Morrison Coors
launching their NA cocktail, I think our generations, Gen X, Millennial, were definitely the alcohol generations. We were the generations to drink booze, probably, high school party, drink booze, like think if you will, the amount of movies in the 90s and 2000s about high school parties and like how many they were, how many revolved around them. Like that doesn't exist in modern society today. Kids are not drinking anymore. Kids are not drinking as much as they used to when we were underage, when we were, of age, barely age. So I think when it comes to the non-alcoholic mocktails, like RTD mocktails, I think the whole point is to create that flavor, because there are a lot of great cocktails. Like a lot of people drink mojitos because they want that mint, or margaritas. So the mocktails are giving the experience of an actual cocktail flavor without tasting like a syrupy energy drink. Because if you remove energy drinks, like there isn't too many flavored drinks out there that are like this. Like there's you can get mojito flavored Monster probably, or you can get a margarita flavored Monster. You can't get a margarita flavored seltzer, non-alcoholic seltzer. So I think that's where the people want the flavor, they want the taste, they want the quality, they don't want the buzz. That's what I'm seeing from the younger generation, the Gen Z, as they get into alcohol drinking age.
Now, Rob, you drink a lot of these zero proof spirits. Does it tickle that need that you have for, like, say you want an old fashioned? I've personally never had any. It's never been an interest of mine. The only thing I really like alcohol wise is vodka. I can't picture sitting around drinking a non-alcoholic spirit like vodka. Does it really do the job for you when you're looking for something like that?
I mean, for the most part, it kind of does. I've had the two different ones that were on that I've had on the show. There was the Monday brand, and then the Kentucky 74, which I unfortunately Ashley over at Metropolitan did not have any this week, so I did not get a chance to buy any more of that. But for the most part, I mean, it does. I mean, I haven't done too many like real mixed cocktails with it. I mean, the only thing that I've mixed it with is what I've had on the show. It's just having it with, mixing with ginger beer. I haven't tried making an old fashioned with it yet, but I'm interested in doing it. I don't have the supplies in the basement to do it, and I don't necessarily feel like buying everything right now. But there is, like, when you drink it as a mixed drink, you don't notice, like, you don't look at it as, like, when you're drinking it, that it's just, oh, it's all non-alcoholic. It's not going to have the barrel flavor. It's not going to have, all these different notes that come off of the barrel and things like that. And, on its own, when you drink it neat, you're damn right it doesn't have any of that. It's weird. It's like, I feel like I'm like somebody who basically switches from whole milk to oat milk. It's utterly different. It's an adjustment period, but when you get used to it and you get to understanding how you can mix with it, I don't notice much. I mean, I'm just enjoying a drink. So, and without all of the side effects that happen normally with alcohol. So for me, like for all the Gen Zers or, all those whippersnappers who are sitting there drinking all of these, low to no ABV drinks. I mean, I feel like they're kind of coming into this where, I think it's like what Ken said, is that there were all these movies where there were all these drinking parties and everybody wanted to drink. But as we don't have those movies, these kids are getting into drinking, and it almost feels like they're starting with the zero ABV, and that becomes what they become accustomed to as what the taste is. They may obviously go on to start drinking, the real stuff and, understand the difference, but it's like the zero ABV is now the primer instead of what we have, where we've already painted the room with ABV, and now we're sitting here trying to go back to the primer to redo the paint, and it just doesn't look the same.
A good thought came to mind because, I'm a degenerate parent, so I would probably let my kids try one of these. What about you? Would you let yours drink one of these non-alcoholic mixed drinks?
Probably not. I mean, I would probably, I wouldn't be, I actually wouldn't even be really opposed to them just trying a regular drink, because the thing is with having teenagers, and especially with having all teenage girls, is that this is a shit society sometimes, and I need them to be able to watch out for themselves. So in my way, I almost feel like I want them to try alcohol and try it here so that they can understand what it is and what it tastes like, so that when we're not around as parents, that their receptors can kick in and say, I shouldn't drink this because this is alcohol, this is dangerous, and I'm in a situation where I don't have a safety net.
That's a good answer. I agree with you. Now, Dani, what's your thought on this? I don't know if you're into alcohol, spirits like you are to beer. Is this something you would consider switching to at any time?
I'm not really into spirits much. I do like vodka and like tequila. But generally, it's definitely more of beer or wine for me. But I have had some pretty fantastic mocktails in the last few months. And aside from the buzz, the taste is fantastic. I mean, I don't know. If all you're looking for is the taste, I think sometimes it's spot on. And that's nothing that's lost. But if you're drinking for a different reason, like to get buzzed, to loosen up or whatever, like you have to make that happen on your own. That's hard sometimes. So I don't know. I don't know if I would switch completely, but it's nice to know that that stuff's there. I think it's cool. And like, I have heard that like younger people don't drink as much, which I think is weird, but hey, everybody has their own thing. So if there's something out there that makes them not feel awkward in a place where other people are drinking and they can have this thing that looks the same and tastes the same, then they should have that thing. Everybody should have that.
You know, that makes me wonder too. You bring up a good point. So, you know, for example, I live pretty close to Scottsdale and Tempe, which are big party scenes. We going to see a shift to a lot of bars selling more and more non-alcoholic spirits and beer? Nick, we've been around the block like a million times. We're talking about Augie's, places like that. Can you picture a place switching to having more than that versus right now? You know, you can go get an O'Doul's or you can go get a Heineken Zero, something like that. Do you think we'll see a lot of places switch to start having non-alcoholic alternatives outside of those normal ones you usually see?
I think we will because, as you know, as our guest earlier talked about, it's trying to understand and listen to your consumers, listen to your customers, and we are starting to see this increase in NA options than we have in the past, and I think this will kind of. I'm not sure if it'll be a big option. I'm not sure if it's going to be a popular option, but I think it'll be an option that people will be at least interested in or at least gravitate towards a lot more than what we probably think. At least that's what I feel. I think more establishments, especially those that bring the people in and sell pretty good, will give it a try because they know that there's people out there that either can't drink or don't want to drink. And we've seen that over the last couple of years, more NA options. I think we'll see it a little bit more. I think it will take some time, though.
Here's what I want to see from a lot of bars is the fact that you can add, you know, and you don't have to really hide it, but you can add 4 bottles to a rail. You can add a whiskey, a gin, a vodka, and a rum. And when someone, if I'm a bar manager and someone orders a soda or coffee while everyone else at the table is drinking, obviously they're the one that's probably the DD. If I could turn around and be like, hey, you know, we'd love to make you a mocktail because we could just make it with this, you know, NA version of a whiskey or NA version of a vodka. The worst they're going to say is no, the product isn't going to go bad. It's not going to sit like a NA beer is because we all remember what NA beer used to be. Your, you know, Labatt NA, your Bud NA beers and what they used to taste like. Obviously, they fixed a lot of it in the last couple of years because they've needed to grow with the industry. But if I'm, as we've mentioned, you know, free publicity, let's use a former sponsor, 3 Nick Scoreboard. If I'm 3 Nick Scoreboard, and I have room for 4 bottles to make mocktails, because that's all I need on the wall. I don't need 6 different versions of NA whiskey. I just need Monday. You
need one.
Yeah. At that point, when someone orders and they go to 3 Nicks and they're not drinking, you could be like, hey, I see you're not drinking. We do have mocktails. Would you like a mocktail? And I think that kind of service, one, is going to up the tip that you're going to get. 2, it's going to increase notoriety because people will now remember, hey, they serve NA stuff here, so that when whoever draws a short straw, quote unquote, to be the DD, you can now feed them, our mixed NAs to have them enjoy their night with you instead of drinking Diet Cokes, from the bar. These are the kinds of things that I think a lot of bars need to work on, and I think we will see it in the future. I don't see like my local Moose Lodge doing it, just because that's not the clientele that they're serving. But if I walked into Bobcat Bonnie's, for example, and honestly, if they can't serve me something NA that's not soda, I'd probably be disappointed walking into that kind of a place.
Yeah, I'd agree. I would expect it.
Dani, you're consistently nodding your head and agreeing with me, so I'm going to pass it over to you. What kind of news article do you have today?
Well, I have the one that a lot of people have been talking about on Facebook this week. The fat tires change from an amber to what resembles a golden ale. Everybody's aware of this.
I am not aware of this.
Yeah, what's going on?
They gave the beer a complete change?
Yes, and they kept the name Fat Tire. Apparently, sales of the beer were down like 52% since like 2016 or something like that. And I get it, but does it make sense to change the entire beer, not just slowly fades out Fat Tire, and maybe call it like
I would call it bike tire at that point.
Name.
Bike tire.
I don't know.
Right.
I mean,
You need 10-speed tire.
10-speed tire, motorcycle. So here. Let me jump in on this real quick. When Fat Tire was released, I feel like it was a really big deal for us here in Michigan, especially in southeastern Michigan. I think, Ken, you got me to try it for the very first time. We thought it was great.
Yeah, I used to go to Indiana to bring home
you
cases of
travel
it.
for it. Yeah, I remember that. It's like, it doesn't make sense to me to make over the beer and still call it the same thing, when in reality, it's not the same thing. It just doesn't work. They should have just either stop making it all together and just call it quits. Because, I mean, 50 something % is a pretty big sales decrease. Let's be real here.
Yes.
But don't call it Fat Tire. Because I think for the people that still drink Fat Tire and appreciate the original Fat Tire recipe that we are so used to getting, I think it's a slap in the face to the consumer at that point. That's just my hot take, but they should have renamed it. Maybe Fat Tire's little sister or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, they should have. It does kind of feel like it should have been rebranded. Maybe even, I mean, obviously with that large of a decrease, and being, 52% nationally, where in the country are the biggest hits? Is it possible to even slow down the production of Fat Tire to a point where you may or may not create a new demand now that people can't find it, and then ramp it back up if it passes that test that people want to get it, but slow it down and then bring out the new beer. Maybe call it Tire Pump. maybe call it handlebars. There's something else on the bike. Call it the tires, the fat spokes. I don't know. Just like don't give it the same name as the beer that has been your flagship, and change it. That would almost be like if Bell's were making Two Hearted and they decided to change the recipe so that it suddenly turned into what they now have as official and call that Two Hearted. Like that is really weird to just change the recipe but keep the name. It just feels like it should be at least a different name, and then do something with Fat Tire. Like I said, slow down the production, slow down the shipments, and limit it so that it's still out there and still gets to the customers that you wanted to get to, and then ramp back up when you see that it's possible to bring it back. Because now that you've changed it, now people who are getting into the game and drinking New Belgium and thinking, oh damn, this is Fat Tire, this is amazing. And what if they change it back? Suddenly they're all hopped up or hyped up rather on Fat Tire, and someone's like, oh damn, I forgot about that beer, I should try that again. And then you try it and it's just like, wait a minute, what the hell is this? That's not Fat Tire. I mean, it's so much different than basically saying this year's Oberon tastes so much different than Oberon 3 years ago, because it's a completely different beer.
What does it say for like the style too? Like, it was an amber, right? I had it like maybe once. So, okay. Those are, people kind of still order them. You can kind of still find them at some breweries, but like, is that getting phased out? Like, I don't see them a lot. I guess I'll say.
You don't see ambers a lot?
Maybe I do. I don't.
Oh,
Dani, breweries make an amber.
Yeah, that's definitely a style that you will see not only at the kind of places like Royal Oak Brewery that do a lot of more, not less massive brewed styles like your amber ESB alt beer. But if you go to a lot of breweries that aren't quote unquote sour houses like Ferndale Project or IPA houses or like Holmes Brewing, you're going to find, I honestly think you're going to find a lot of ambers out there. The thing is that I don't think a lot of ambers get called ambers or reds or like they definitely hide behind different, kind of like ESBs. They hide behind other names and phrases because a lot of them are kind of in the same family. They're not the same beer. A lot of they have their own flavor profiles, but like think Alaskan Amber isn't an amber. Lighthouse Amber over in Sheboygan, not an amber. So even beers labeled as amber aren't ambers. So I think because you're not looking for it, you're not seeing it. But I know after the show, you're going to see it at every single brewery you go to. And you're going to start ordering them because it's going to warm my heart. But changing an entire style of beer while keeping the name is the dumbest thing I could probably think of. I can't think of any positive way to do it because there's no, like, if I ordered a Fat Tire, say I'm not this in knowledge beer geek person that I am today. Like 10 years ago, Ken wouldn't have known that Fat Tire Amber probably changed to Fat Tire Blonde or whatever they changed it to. And if you gave me that beer, I would be so pissed.
I just assume you gave me the wrong beer.
Yeah, like, especially if it's on draft.
Yeah. Like, that'll be the beer, like, if I go to a restaurant or something where the biggest, like, the best craft style of beer they have is a Fat Tire, I'll probably order it. If I walked in there and they bring me this, like, yellow beer, I'd be like, you got me the wrong beer. And send it back. Like, what are you doing? And I can see that happening to a lot of people. If you don't know, I didn't know till right now that they're doing this. If someone walks in and orders a Fat Tire thinking they're getting the beer they know and they get that, they're probably going to be mad.
Also the first person that works at like a Hopcat or a Detroit Beer Exchange that taps that beer and someone orders a Fat Tire and they pour it, they're like, this isn't Fat Tire. Did we put the wrong keg on? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Did they also mislabel the keg they sent me? Like they will go as far as not even thinking that it's not everything is correct. It's everyone else is wrong. On such a label too, like as Rob said, like when he said like Too Hard it is now a New England hazy, like what? Like that kind of thing would just blow my mind. And it's the exact same for Fat Tire. Like if you came and you changed Fat Tire or 805, like if you came in and said 805 is now a brown ale.
Yeah. I was thinking Boston Lager. Could you imagine if they changed that to like something completely different?
Like a Belgian wit. Like like their own version of Blue Moon, Cold Snap, like their version of Cold Snap. Like I it just blows my mind that they did this. I would love, and I know we this year I want to reach out to now that it's kind of settled down, New Belgium and Bells. I was hoping to get John Mallet on the show again, but as we are aware, John Mallet has retired, which he's been in the industry for a long time, so it's well within his right to retire.
Indeed.
But I do not know another beer that could there's nothing that could even losing 50% market share. You lost 50% market share. Look at how much Voodoo Ranger increased in market share. It's not like New Belgium lost market share. It's just Fat Tire lost it to people who want other beers or trying other styles or something. So I don't know. I could probably talk for a while on this. We still got plenty of time. That's Dani's article. Rob, what's your article?
Oh, mine is lovely, 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 because of course BrewDog loves to seem to be in the media for something. Though I'm not sure that they really wanted to be in for this one, because CEO James Watt just posted that customers, there was basically a contest that was going on, and so customers could find, quote, solid gold beer cans in like a Willy Wonka-esque competition, but there was a slight problem. So this advertisement went out, and the cans went out, and James Watt had been tweeting about it and talking about these cans, but he kind of made a slight problem, which he actually said in his post that he said on LinkedIn. The mistake that he made was that when he was mentioning solid gold cans, he didn't realize that the cans were actually only gold plated. And so what the contest was that if somebody got one of these cans, they were supposed to get the valuation of, I think it's something like 15,000 pounds in BrewDog stock per can. But of course, these cans were gold plated, but he's saying that they're solid gold. And so when everybody is looking to grab these cans, they are now finding that they are gold plated, and they are pissed. So customers obviously started blowing up everything. It kind of blew up into this media storm, and James Watt, to his credit, did decide to go into action. He basically said that, quote, this was my mistake and mine alone, and it was on me to fix it. And what he did was he basically reached out to all of the winners, it was about 50 of them, and said that I will give you the cash valuation of what would have been a solid gold can if that's what you want. And essentially it cost around roughly $500,000. Now, another thing to his credit is that he took it out of his own pocket. He felt that this was not something that was the brewery's fault. He didn't want to have any of that expense hit his brewery and, have the business suffer financially. So he paid that out of his own pocket. But he definitely made a mistake here in thinking that these were going to be, or at least saying that these cans were going to be solid gold, and they end up just being gold plated, which probably would just turn your neck green if you turned it to a necklace. God, I gotta be thinking of the wrong movie right now. So I guess I wonder for you guys, just really with this situation. I guess I don't know if any of you have ever run into any type of advertising snafu that has happened in the beer world. I guess I'm curious if his actions in terms of fixing this was the right thing to do, or rather the thing that you would have done had this happened and you were running the business. So I'm going to start with Nick on it.
I don't know if I would have gone through all the trouble. I I can't honestly say I've seen an advertising F up, we'll call it, personally, but I mean
the greatest advertising F up, which I think was made into like a Netflix documentary, was the Pepsi contest with the bottle caps.
Oh, the fighter jet, yeah.
With the fighter jet.
Oh, for sure, watch that already.
Yeah. Did like a city like accrue so many points, and then they had enough to get the jet or something?
No,
like that?
it's this like like late teens, early 20s kid. You can also learn about the early days of Michael Avenatti in this documentary because he was one of the lawyers. In the end, you also learn about what happened it was some Asian or country where they messed up a marketing campaign there, and there's a lot of things that happened to where the guy should have taken a settlement and didn't, and then lost in court because the PepsiCo shopped judges and picked the judge that they wanted to take the case. For me, and I'll bring it back to the BrewDog thing. This is dumb. Dumb marketing. You could have easily just been like, hey, here's your opportunity. Here's the can. You could have put in a special code on the can, like a numerical serial number that promotes, hey, this is one of the 50 cans, so you can verify yourself, and not have said that the can was made of 24 karat gold. This is probably just someone being a little overzealous. But if you're an organization like BrewDog, like Pepsi, you should have had a PR team verify all of that shit before you say anything. So honestly, this is their fault, and they paid it out. So I mean,
someone should have been watching his tweets for sure.
Yeah, that's it. When you're doing something like that, all of that stuff needs to go through a PR team. It's so important to do that, especially for legalese, because somebody, very, very vicious lawyer, will look at every single TOS, every single word, every single thing that you say, pick apart it to try to find something to get a settlement out of you. And that's what we're seeing here. And this isn't necessarily a settlement to where they were supposed to get $18,350. So as long as they got that $18,350, apparently, along with whatever a 12-ounce can made from 24 karat gold. But this is where you can easily get legalese and said, hey, it's not all 24 karat gold, just this little speck, and here's your $10 for the speck of gold in it.
Best I can do is 50 cents.
About $3.50.
I need about $3.50.
I mean, I kind of hijacked that, but it's just so dumb when you're doing that kind of, like, when for us, we are such a struggling podcast. But when we do our March Draftness, which is coming up again this year, and we have to say, because it's true, we buy a keg of beer and we give it away to 147 or so of our brand new friends in the form of a pint each. Because you can't give free beer, but we buy it. So we will get railed by the MLCC so easily, as well as the brewery that we work with, should we fuck something up like that. But we don't, because again, we buy it and we give it away. There's nothing illegal about buying beer for friends. I've bought beer for friends, as of everyone here on this show. So that's just seems like a dumb PR thing. Like, not a dumb PR thing, like you're trying to like do something dumb to get free PR. You're just dumb. Nick, we're getting towards the end. What's your article?
All right, I'll be quick. Have you guys know this TV show Laverne and Shirley, right?
Yes.
The canning, they have the bottle. Yeah, there you go. The bottling line. Well, before I get any further into that, one of Milwaukee's most well-known breweries, Lakefront Brewery, has made the announcement that they are ditching bottles for good, and they are now going to 100% cans. And it's interesting that they're doing this because we're now coming out of the tail end of an aluminum can shortage. Whether it's the right time to do it or maybe they should have waited, who knows? But what's interesting here, why did I bring up Laverne and Shirley? Lakefront Brewery, being one of the most well-known breweries in Milwaukee, actually owns the real bottling line that was used in Laverne and Shirley. They purchased it from Schlitz. It is still used. Well, not anymore. It was still being used up until this most recent announcement by Lakefront Brewery bottling beer. Now, the tour that folks can go on of one of the most historic breweries in Milwaukee will no longer be using that same bottling line from Laverne and Shirley. Now, that's one part of the news. The other part, the other part is obviously the switching from bottles to cans full time. As Ken had mentioned, we're on the tail end of aluminum can shortage. It sounds like we're out of it by the sound of it. Is this the right time to do a decision like that? Ditching glass bottles, like I just finished my s'more stout here from Shorts. Is it the right time to make it a business decision like that and get rid of glass bottles? What are your guys' thoughts? Knowing what we know.
Knowing what we know, we've definitely seen a lot of breweries that have switched to cans. And, at the time when they switched, it was cheaper. It was especially more drinkable when it came to higher ABV beers, especially when it was like, you had 22-ounce bombers and suddenly they get turned into 12-ounce cans, which, for some who like to enjoy that but don't have a friend to sit there and drink a whole damn bottle, that, it's awesome. I think, obviously if we're coming out of the shortage, then I think it's probably a good time to do it. I mean, who knows? I mean, obviously there's going to be a point we're going to see another shortage again. I mean, we're going to see a shortage where there's going to be a shortage of bottles. There's going to be a shortage for CO2 again. There's going to be shortages that just happen. It's just going to be the ebb and flow of the industry. So, I mean, if it's like, if not now, when?
Right. Ken, Dan?
I mean,
Ken?
I don't think one brewery is going to change the entire aspect of going from bottles to cans, especially because as much as we think of like beer, like there are a lot of other industries that use cans, like soda, soup. Like it's just not necessarily going to really adjust the industry to where it's going to. I think as it's coming down, this is the right time for them to do it, because it's like, all right, it's coming down, we're not going to really affect the industry, this is our time to do it. But that's my thought.
Okay.
Yeah, it's better for the environment too. That's why you see so many switching over. Easier to recycle, easy to not end up in a landfill. So I think it's a good thing. I think you're going to see more and more breweries. I mean, I already know quite a few that are, if not 100% cans, are already like 99% can only. So I think it's going to be more and more just as time goes on.
Well, thank you so much, Green New Dan. That's going to do it for the Better on Draft podcast. The news segment, January 13th. No matter what you think of your beer, we think it's Better on Draft. Have a good night.
Peace, y'all.